forward for the ANC, her own role in the ANC going forward, what we're likely to expect from the December conference, and what sense we can make of the current political situation. And of course, she will be open to take questions. She has to catch a flight this afternoon, so I'm going to let questions run on until about 2:20. So, a warm welcome to Dr. Makhosi Khoza.
Thank you very much. And yes, I think I am a rock element. And in fact, when I attend my sessions in Parliament, I always feel as though I'm just a one odd out. But sometimes it's got to be done. Sometimes somebody has to stand up in pursuit for the common good. I also want to say to you, as a press club, you may underestimate the role that you have in shaping the society and in protecting even people like myself. Without press freedom in this country, I doubt if I would be here talking to you. It just took few hours for Daily Maverick to know who was actually behind the death threats, my death threats. Yet I had spent more than 3 months not knowing who was actually threatening me. Despite having opened the cases with the police, there was no action. And when I eventually decided that let me post this number on my Facebook wall, Daily Maverick was able to find it. And suddenly there was an interest from the police to offer me protection. In other words, I'm saying press freedom is not just about, being the instrument of change, but it also plays a major role in actually protecting the freedoms that we have. And it's also very important in actually assisting us in getting to where we have to be. And one of the things that I thought I would like to talk to you about today, are very basic things. Where are we as the South African society? And where to? Unfortunately, I'm here and I'm meeting you. I'm still also trying to reflect about how am I going to get out of this? There is a time when you speak all the time, and if you consistently send certain messages, and you can see that these messages are not having any effect, you've got to review your own strategy. You've got to review your own course of action. And unfortunately, that's what I feel about my own ANC today. I feel that it doesn't appear as though we are standing on the same moral platform that I was standing with them during the 1980s. And sometimes I do get a feeling that I think they are retrogressing, possibly are becoming more conservative, because what they are trying to do is to conserve yesterday, and they are not looking forward. You can tell from the way we are doing things in the party. To me, the 7th of April was offering the ANC an opportunity to decide. And most of you will remember what happened on the 7th of April. When South Africans, and it was not just white monopoly capital, maybe there were some, white monopoly capitalists in that march, but I saw a lot of faith-based organization members. I saw a lot of the working class of our country. I saw a lot of women in that march. I did not see that conspiracy of the white monopoly capital. For the first time, I was actually saying to myself, wow, when we were speaking about unity in this country, this is exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about uniting behind a common purpose. We have all identified corruption as the enemy of the society. And we're all holding that flag very high, our white flag, the South African flag. And we were saying enough is enough. And to me, that did not represent any conspiracy. It was just citizens saying, ANC, you are the ruling party. Yes, you were given the mandate by us as the people. Yes, your term of office is ending in 2019. It's before 2019. But we think you are now taking a wrong course of history. You are no longer leading us to the desired, to the common shared destiny that we wanted to see. And unfortunately, it was sad to find that the ANC opted for a different route to defend our president, who has done little presidential. The most things that we would remember about him is just a scandal after another scandal after another scandal. And what does that say to our children? What does that say about the moral value system that we want to build in a society? We are in this country, we need to be bringing all the children together. We want children to actually aspire for the future that we have already agreed in terms of our own collective moral signature, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. And to me, what we did as the ANC, we exposed ourselves in terms of saying, I don't think we have the leadership. I don't think we have the leadership. A leadership has to connect this society together. Yes, when we first met, whether you are white, you are black, or whatever, and when we first made contact, it was, or admittedly, a very nasty contact. But the reality of the situation now is that we are together, we are here. We belong to South Africa. To me, when we went to the vote on the 27th of April, 1994, what we were saying, yes, we are coming from this oppressive disunity. We now want to move forward to this unity that is going to bring all of us together as a people of South Africa. This does not mean that we are not longer going to deal with the issues of restoration of the dignity of those who were oppressed during the apartheid and colonial system. But it was really about saying, we acknowledge what happened in the past, but we can't live in the past. We have to live here and we have to move to the future. And I think we are kind of stuck right now. It's like, sometimes I have a feeling that, somebody's trying to bring a typewriter and is saying, please upgrade this to perform the iPad function. And I think we need to start thinking more about how to leave the typewriter behind, because it can't be changed. The typewriter has played its role. The typewriter has typed many pages, and you as journalists, and I see a lot of gray hair here, so you know the typewriter that I'm talking about. Maybe the kids over there won't know what a typewriter is. they will actually be surprised that there was something like a typewriter. But this is the typewriter generation that I'm talking to here, the majority of them. So they know the typewriter. Now we need to actually bring this generation of the algorithms with us. My own children as a mother are telling me, in fact, they always challenge me about even some of the policies that we have taken as the ANC that I'm not going to be talking about here today. But I'm going to just say to you, our generation, the generation of algorithms, does not really care much about what transpired. Yes, we wanted them to remember what happened, but the way they have to remember it so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. We should not be stuck there. We should move on. And I think it's also going to be very important for us to remember that when you are building a society, you cannot build a society when you are standing on an amoral platform. Because if you are standing on an amoral platform, you negate everything else. No matter how noble the pursuit that you may be talking about, if you are standing on an amoral platform, you are going to be undermining the agenda that is supposed to be putting us together as South Africans. And I think as South Africans, we need to stop thinking about ourselves as black and white. Because the truth is, to build this country, we need each one of you. It's not going to be Makhosi Khoza that is going to be changing South Africa. What are you doing in your own space of influence? What are you doing to make sure that we create this positive change in this country? What are we doing in order to make sure that all these children, and by the way, more than 12 million children, are not taking part in the voting in South Africa? And that's not just white children, it's also black children. And as a former chair of the Public Service and Administration, one thing that I actually find painful, which is why I think we have become conservative as the ANC, and probably we are also distorting the narrative. You know, and unfortunately for me, I was actually on my way to deliver a memorial lecture on Route 1st on the 17th of August when I was fired as the chairperson. And I started thinking, good Lord, this is a woman who was not dark like me. This was a white woman. That's the price she paid. Who the hell am I to complain about just the salary cut and you know, to be shifted back to the back benches? You know, I was actually in the middle of the benches in Parliament. You know, you have your front benchers, your ministers. Then we sit somewhere where, as chairpersons of committees, we sit in the middle. And if you have no title, like me now, you sit at the back, on the back benches. And I do want to say to you though, sometimes I love it there in the back benches because it gives me an opportunity to reflect on what is going on in this country. Sometimes I think we use too much coercive force. When we are introducing policies, we don't incentivize people. And I was saying, a country that is threatened with food security, why shouldn't we be addressing the land issue as an example? I'm just making an example. The land issue is a serious issue. Of course, South Africans care more about jobs, that is statistically speaking, than land. If you were to go and actually do a survey tomorrow, South Africans would tell you that I need a job. They will not say, I need a land, but we still have to address the land issue. However, how do you address a land issue in a way that is ensuring food security, in a way that ensures that this country remains as this cohesive whole, we maintain this unity that we want? I'm not sure what you think, but what I think is that if I had said, hey, South Africans, if you are producing in that land, we shall not expropriate it. Think about it. What will happen? Everybody's gonna go and work. Now everybody has stopped working on their farm. People are stopping to work on their farms because they worried that it's gonna be taken away tomorrow. Now, yet, had we said, if that land is producing food for the country, it's not going to be part of the negotiation of any expropriation. Now, you've achieved two goals. One, you've actually made sure that you have food security in the country. And you are also making sure that there is skills transfer. I know that you may be a lot of you in this room, but if you go outside, there are a lot of my kind. We are more than you. So I'm saying, if you are going to say that, and in any case, we are together, and we are in the majority, obviously some of these things will obviously start sorting themselves out, because we also have the responsibility of skilling our people. And why don't we allow people to be skilled to understand farming? Makhosi Khoza with these nails probably will not make a good farmer. I won't be able, because farming, that's one of the things that I never understand when we make policies. We've got to be practical. We've got to be practical. You can't say, no, let's just redistribute land without having a plan of what's going to happen to that land. What happens to food security? Now, the second thing you will be addressing, you will actually be making sure that South Africans feel they belong. They don't feel like they are being punished. What I feel right now, I feel as though we are encouraging racism, tribalism, and all those ethnic enclosures, because once you are threatened, everybody starts looking for their kind. Who is going to protect me? Yet, if we are becoming positive and we actually start incentivizing people instead of being punitive, you will actually find that a lot of people, a lot of South Africans believe in this country. And believe you me, there is no country like ours in the world. There is no country like ours in the world. All it takes is for us to actually begin to challenge each other. Business, what are you doing to create positive changes in this country? Students, what are you doing in creating positive changes in this country? Don't ban statutes. Let's build statutes that are going to represent our history so that we have a collective history. Because if you bring that down, you are actually distorting history. And yes, we can't run away from the fact that we went through that path. But the way you are going to correct it is to build the statutes that are going to be representing the other sections of the population that may not have been represented in the number of statutes that are there. And I think we've just got in this bad mode, and to me, it's all about leadership. When Mandela was around, we know the kind of, I didn't know anything about rugby in 1995. But I found myself jumping in the street and very happy. I didn't know, I know football. I grew up in Pietermaritzburg, in the dusty streets of Pietermaritzburg. I know football, But I didn't know anything about rugby. But in 1995, you would have no idea how I felt. I felt my fellow compatriots. They've done it. We are making it to the world. And that's exactly what we need. We need the leadership that has the correct moral compass. And any society that does not have a strong moral value system is doomed. We have a lot of challenges in this country. And to me, whatever that we may say we are doing, and probably which is why I'm feeling a little sad that I'm standing here and I'm still going to go for my disciplinary hearing. One of the things that makes me sad is that we are busy pursuing this woman called Makhosi Khoza. But there are so many young men and women who are unemployed. We have a very, very serious crisis of unemployment in this country. And we have people who are actually 35 years old and they have never worked in their lives. How do you restore the dignity of a person when that person is unemployed? We are supposed to be restoring the dignity of those that were, those that were oppressed by the previous systems. But you can't just say there is the constitution and that's it. You've got to be looking at how do you physically restore the dignity of this person. Because somebody who is unemployed, believe you me, when they go home, you must see the kind of shame they live in the family, especially if they are males. And when you are not addressing unemployment in this country, you are actually pushing a lot of people into prisons. Do we have enough money to build more prisons? In other words, we need to be solving the root cause of the problem. We may build as many prisons as we want. The truth is, that man has nothing to lose because if he doesn't have a job, he has no dignity. To have dignity, you must be able to deliver a slice of bread on the table so that your family can see your worth. If you are coming here all the time, you are crying like all of us. You are a victim, like our president who cries all the time. Whenever he's done something wrong, he cries that I didn't know. I'm being attacked. So we need to make sure that we start restoring that. But that is going to require you and I. All of us must do that. The other thing, the final thing that I want to say to you, because we have limited time and I know you have a lot of questions, I wanted to leave more time for you to ask questions, is that where we are as this country is that we are more divided than we were before. But there is hope. There is hope. We are more divided because the leadership that we've had has not contributed in assisting us in coming together. They've kind of encouraged us to look at ourselves as us and them, and not as we, all of us. And I believe that if we do that, if we start saying we need a kind of leadership that is going to understand the importance of being in this part of the continent. And unfortunately for you, all of you here, I'm going to say to you, we have a bigger challenge in South Africa. It's more than just South Africa. If the South African story goes tragic, the rest of the continent is gone forever. And that's the sad reality. Probably that's one of the things that makes me stand up and understand and actually fight corruption, because every failed state in Africa didn't fail because of probably, yes, maybe external forces, they may be there, but primarily it's because of self-inflicted challenges, corruption. People, they have this thing of thinking that, there's one thing that I also enjoy, a lot I like about some of the farmers, they know that everything, to be a farmer, you have to understand this thing called process, and you must persevere. Unfortunately, the leadership that we have today has this instant gratification. I need to get this now, not tomorrow, now. I want to be a multimillionaire today. They don't want to understand that in making a person, in building a country, it's a process. And I think there are experiences we can take from farmers, because farmers, what they do, they know that if I put the seed there, it's not going to fruit tomorrow. I've got to nurture it. I've got to make sure that it's watered. I've got to make sure that it grows. I've got to be worried about what happens about the risk factors such as bad weather and that kind of thing. And to me, that is something that maybe makes me feel strongly that we need to also start instilling the culture of hard work in South Africa. The culture of hard work, people just wanted to get things easily. And I am worried. I've served in the Standing Committee on Finance, and I can tell you, and the money that we have today in our fiscus is very mobile. People can be here. It's extremely mobile. The money is very mobile. Now it's just the touch of the button, it's gone. You know, there are no big sacks, it's just those digits now. And we need to be taking care of that. And we need to be building more taxpayers, significant taxpayers. We need to be creating more jobs. I'm gone past the issue of ideology. Yes, I was socialized into communism because all of us in the ANC, I mean, there may be some of you here who were once communists as well, but it's not practical. It's beautiful. It's a very good tool of analysis. If you want to analyze a society, it's perfect. It will tell you about the social stratification, the forces of production, the dialectical materialism and whatnot. But it's not going to deliver the solutions that we seek. And that is why we need to be practical. We have to be practical. We have to understand that we are dealing with a reactive phenomena. We are dealing with human beings. We are dealing with people who are mind, spirit, and body. And these people, you need to take care of them. But they also have to understand that they have a responsibility. In my language, it's umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. You are because of others. You can't be on your own. You belong somewhere. And this is your country. This is your country. You have a responsibility of building it. You have a responsibility of defending that constitution that we have. And to women in particular, I am saying we are ready for a female president. However, we are not going to say we want a female president simply because you are wearing a skirt. We want you to show us that you actually understand what it takes to build a country. You also want you to understand your own moral compass, because I don't care how noble your pursuit is. If you are standing on an amoral platform, there is no way we can share the destiny with you. We will let you run on your own. And having said that, I just want to say, where we need to be as this country, we need to unite this country. I have just 3 things that I think are critically important for all of us. I think we need to build this country. How do we build this country? We need to coexist. We need to coexist and we need to unite. We also need to create jobs. And the only way we can create jobs is if we also understand that we are in Africa. We should not be thinking that we are going to be creating markets elsewhere. That we have, South Africa, we are only about 58 million people. And if we start looking at Africa as an opportunity from the growth point of view, we could all make it. Because if we don't address the challenges of Africa, what we will have is that the whole continent is going to outsource its problems to us in South Africa. That is why we need to be thinking much bigger. And that's the leader that will resonate very well with me, a moral leader, and a leader who understands that South Africa is in Africa, and we have an equal responsibility of making sure that we all prosper. Thank you.
lady first, and then I saw the judge, so I will clamber down, and if Dr. Khoza could go back up onto the stage, and this is Jane Lefebvre.
Thank you so much. I think that everybody here today has heard a voice of leadership. And we, as the media, as people, we can't afford to see that voice silenced. So I think I speak for most of the people in this room to say that that's our pledge, that's what you came for and you're getting it. We won't let you be silenced. But for me, it gives an opportunity to ask about other voices who are too silent and who are currently quite openly putting themselves in leadership positions. And one of them is a man. His name begins with a C, Cyril, and the other is in Nkosazana. And if they were here today, we would not be having this conversation. But we need to have the conversation, and we need you, famous speaker of truth that you are, we need your comments on either of these people, both of them, and the problem with leadership in this country.
Right, should we take the judge's question next, and then you'll answer the two questions. His Lordship, Judge Steerkamp. Do you still call judges lordships?
I'm afraid that's a colonial relic. Dr. Khoza, in the days of the apartheid regime, there were people in the National Party who were critical of the party. And then there were people in the UDF and people like me, as an effective youngster at the time, who said to them, well, what the hell are you doing in the National Party? And they said, well, we think we can change things from within. I think they've been proven wrong by history. So my question to you is, why are you still in the ANC?
Right, over to you, Dr. Khoza, and then I'll wander around the room looking for more hands.
The latter question is very difficult. You know, the only reason why I'm still within the ANC, I think I'm also dealing with my own demons. I became associated with the African National Congress when I was 12. I had spent more time in the African National Congress than I spent time with my own family. Now, that's 35 years I've been in the ANC. And you are absolutely correct. I once wrote an article in my Facebook wall and I got into trouble. I'm not sure if it forms part of the charges, because I actually wrote about liberation struggle fatigue. You know, we have this, even myself, and I want you to understand that a lot of leaders in the ANC, we are like that abused woman in that marriage who keeps on thinking that things are going to get better. Unfortunately, they never do. And I think one of the things that we are not confronting, that I am beginning to confront, is the fact that the ANC as a liberation movement had a specific purpose. And let's applaud the ANC for having navigated through all the storms to a point where we got our collective moral signature, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996. And I think we need to begin to say, when I was saying, I thought you were going to read between the lines, Judge, when I was talking about the typewriter and the age of algorithms. You know, we are still stuck, we still believe that the typewriter can still do the work. We still think that it can be upgraded. And guess what? You are right. It can't be upgraded. Why I'm still within the ANC? It's because there is a bit of sentimental thing about it. The first T-shirt I wore in my life that was my signature clothing was the Freedom Charter, with all those clauses. It's become almost like a religion in one's head, you know? But like an abusive woman, you cannot tolerate pain forever. It's got to exit at some point. You've got to understand that time does not stand still. And we've got to move to make those necessary shifts. And those necessary shifts is that we need to understand that now the Constitution gives us the right to moral conscience. They give us the right to freedom of association, the right to freedom of speech. And that on its own is so liberating. We now need to move on. I'm not going to say much to that because I'm still going for my disciplinary hearing, so I don't want it to have more charges added. I've already done a lot of work to prepare for what's going to happen there. So I'm just going to stop there. Regarding Cyril and Nkosazana, you know, as a person who's grown from the ANC, we can't take away the fact that Cyril is one of the architects of the Constitution that we have, which everybody in the world thinks it's the best document ever produced for a society that binds us together. However, my only difficulty with Cyril, maybe some of you might have read the article or the speech of Weasel on the perils of indifference. I think he's playing it too safe. This country is yearning for leadership. This country is yearning for this. The decisive moment has come. You can't play it too safe. You've got to come out and be known. Which side are you standing? Where are you, with the people or are you with corruption? You've got to decide where you are standing. And I think that is one thing that I would like Comrade Cyril to consider, to come out in the open, so that as we go to the conference in December, we know what we are going for if we are going for him. We have to hold him accountable to the messages that he must be passing before he gets elected, if he does get elected. With Nkosazana, unfortunately with Nkosazana, my voice as a feminist, I'm sorry if there are people here who believe in the patriarchy, I'm a feminist and I'm apologetic about it. And the reason why I became a feminist is because I used to go and fetch water, and my brother would go and play football. And I used to have to clean the pots where my brother was eating in. And he's going there, he's playing his yo-yo, or he's playing his screwdriver, whatever, you know. And thanks to my brother, I became a feminist because I thought that was unfair. It's as simple as that. Now, I think my feminist voice is emerging much stronger than before. I honestly think that in a country where we have such a lot of women abuse and so forth, we cannot afford a leader who is tolerant of a patriarchal system. I also think that as a woman, I have to feel that you are also representing me. I cannot accept somebody who's been accused of rape to be the champion of my campaign. Something is fundamentally flawed with my moral conscience if I accept that. And I'm more scared of Nkosazana winning than possibly of Cyril. Because Cyril, all I'm asking from him is for him to come out in the open. I'm not going to, we've had too many smallanyana skeletons in the closet. I don't want another one jumping out only to find that it's monstrous. You know, so I want him, I would love to see him coming out in the open. But indeed, I think South Africa has to set the path. And the questions you are asking me are very difficult, and allow me time to reflect some more. Thank you.
Right, Lorna Levy.
Good afternoon. I'd like to ask you, as a veteran of the ANC and a former member of the struggle, how it came about that in 2009 at Polokwane, the ANC voted in Zuma with his hundreds of things against him. And how it is that I want to know where you were at that particular time. Because that was obviously a moment where people relaxed in a way they should never have relaxed, because we knew so much about the president, and yet the people of South Africa elected him. So, in a way, if you look back at this now, you wonder where we were and why we expected that we were going to get something different.
I'll take a question over here, was it? And then the school girl over there is next. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Good evening. Good afternoon. Aubrey is my name, Sosibo is my surname. I'm from Simonstown, employed in the Maritime Center, past student of them. But my questions, but before that, I would love to highlight to you, Togotela, that I admire you so much. And not because of the way you're outspoken, and I know that for you, you feel as if you are standing out, especially for women. But I want to tell you that you are not only raising your voice on behalf of the women, but you are doing that for men as well. So part of my question, you have answered it. But there is an English saying that says, when your enemy is making a mistake, do not disturb him. That's the way you can obviously let him make a mistake, so that by that he hurts himself and you have won automatically. So you will still reflect on that maybe. But my concern and question is, as the ANC, there are a lot of people who are corrupt, especially in the leadership. It's impossible that it's only the president who is a corrupt guy, should I say. If there were people in the parliament who could vote against the motion of impeaching him, then that's obviously mean that got things that are gaining from him. So my question specifically, is there hope in the ANC in general? Because if he comes out, the person who comes next will obviously be someone who's been around the table with him and the others. I know you get what I'm trying to say. So is there hope, or it's now time that we jump boat and let the enemy make a mistake?
I'm going to take a question over here from a school girl.
Good day, everyone. Good day, Dr. Makhosi Khoza. My name is Dudu Zile. My surname is Mlaba. I am currently doing grade 11 in Simonstown School, and I'm a boarder at Low Hill Maritime Center. To tell you the truth, I am supposed to be at school right now. but I couldn't miss the opportunity that was granted for me to meet the woman that I admire. You know, Dr. Makhosi Khoza, I admire you as a woman of integrity, the woman who stands for the truth. I mean, people, this woman sacrificed her life I mean, he was told that he's gonna die in 21 days. But guess what? She replied, she said, rubbish, go ahead. And I was like, yeah, this woman is brave. You know, Dr. Makhosi Khoza, as young as I am, and as young as I might be, but to us as future generation, because standing before here, I am a future leader. And I mean, like, standing before you currently, our leaders are doing corruption, but they are busy preaching, telling us that we as young children, we should not do corruption. But what they themselves, they are doing corruption. Please tell me, how can you say to me that I shouldn't do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, what you currently are doing corruption? So it is a great pleasure, Dr. Makhosi Khoza, because you are our voice. And it's a pity because in South Africa, as young as I am, but I recognize that each and every time a person is taking a stand and fight for corruption and fight for what is wrong, and fight for better future, each and every time that person gets crucified for telling the truth. You are being crucified to tell the truth. But remember, even though right now you are going to this one hearing, remember that you are our voice. Just keep on keeping on, keep on pressing on. I admire you as a woman of integrity. Never lose hope.
Oh my God.
Dr. Khoza, James Bryce, just a quick one. Of the 30 brave souls who voted against the president in the secret ballot, just a one-word answer from you. How many more do you think there were that are on the edge that are ready to vote according to their conscience? I mean, how big is the groundswell within the ANC at the moment?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me start with the last one, because that one is an easy one. One thing that we must appreciate about the outcome of the 8th of August is the fact that there were 4 suspects that were known which way they were going to vote. Pravin, Makhosi Khoza, Derek Hanekom, and Mondli Gungubele, at least. Now, to me, the fact that they not only have to deal with just us, there are other people, and you must remember what actually happened on the 8th, in the morning of the 8th. We had an ANC caucus. And during that ANC caucus, there were all sorts of intimidation that you can think of. We were told that the problem in South Africa is not the president, but it is judocracy. The judiciary is beginning, Judge, to take over the democracy. At no stage were we told about kleptocracy as a problem. And again, people were told that if you are going to vote during that if you are going to vote against the president during that vote, the parliament is going to be dissolved, and you are going to be unemployed. So I am saying, I want to focus on those courageous men and women. At least 35 of them, even those that abstained, because they sent a very clear message. They were saying, we can no longer be subjected to a directionless leadership. And if you understand the ANC culture, we draw a lot of our philosophies from people like Lenin and so forth, and that is why we have this thing called democratic centralism, where even leadership, no matter how wrong they can be, because the leadership collective has decided you are forced to vote along party lines. And I think, to me, there was a glimpse of hope there that says, we are ready to transition to the new democratic dispensation that we fought for. And I wanted to encourage more men and women of integrity within the ANC to do likewise. My dear sister, my daughter, you made me cry actually. You gave me hope. And in you, I see the future president of the Republic.
I think that's our first tie to President.
She actually made me cry. Why? Because sometimes, I'm a human being. I'm a reactive phenomenon. I feel pain. To me, probably the reason why I'm kind of teary, it's because I think we forget, and that's one thing that is missing with the leadership today. We have this instant gratification, we have this crass materialism to a point where we forget that as leaders, once you become a leader, you cease to be an individual absolutely. What you do, you are actually defining the culture of a society. And the reason why the moral compass of a leader is very important, it's because, like you were saying, you cannot be a leader and do corruption and stand up and say to the children, corruption is wrong. And to me, it breaks my heart because that says we are breaking this society as leaders because of the things that we do. However, I want to say to you, I will stand on. I am unfazed. I may cry. It's okay. But to me, this country is more important to me. The future generations, the South Africa that the 1955 delegation designed, I can't let it slip when I'm there. You know, as Wiesel calls it, the perils of indifference. I can't be indifferent. I've got to take a stand. And that is why I've taken the stand. I have to stand with the people because I fought for this democracy. I can't stand for an amoral leader. And I'm going to the question that was asked about 2009. Where were you? Time to account. Where were you in 2009? In the ANC, we have something that is called democratic centralism. And you also have the majority rules. And in Polokwane, you must remember that 40% voted against and 60% voted for. So, you understand what I'm talking about. And I want to tell you that I've always got into trouble. If you go back to KZN, I used to get into trouble a lot. Go and Google Makhosi Khoza land invasion. You will see what was happening in 2012. They actually invaded my land in Hillcrest because I was the first runner-up for the city manager of eThekwini, and people feared that I was going to close the taps. And I said to them, of course these taps are so open. I'm gonna close them. Appoint me as the city manager. We need to close these taps. By taps, they are saying you are going to stop them from, milking the public purse. And I don't agree with that because corruption to me is the enemy number one of development, is enemy number one of progress, is enemy number one for people who are stuck in poverty and unemployment. That money you heard Patel last night probably in the news, he said we've lost 27 billion and that's through corruption. And that 27 billion, how many jobs it could have created? And yes, as the ANC, we have to collectively own up. I too was complicit. When, during the 7 votes of no confidences, I voted along party lines, but I was having an internal battle with myself. I was at war with myself. I would go home, I would start breaking down. Because to me, democracy is not about oppositional politics. We vote with the members of the opposition all the time when we are passing bills. Why, when it is this particular man, we now have to say, opposition party, this motion has come with the DA or EFF or UDM or whatever. To me, democracy is about understanding and appreciation that your view is only superior compared to you. The minute you open your views to others, it loses that superiority. You've got to be persuaded as well. And that is the kind of South Africa I would like to see. I don't want it to oppose you simply because you are DA. If you are talking something sensible that is taking this society forward, so let's get that done. And that's what we should be doing. And I think that is the democracy that Mandela expected. And I think as a stalwart of this movement, that's the democracy you wanted. Not this one that we have, of flexing your quantitative muscles, of saying, I have the numbers, I can do what I want, even when you are leading us to the ditch. I don't think that is democracy. To me, that is kleptocracy disguised as democracy. And you've asked a very, very, very good question, my son, and I wanted to salute you for that. I said earlier on, I'm going through a process of reflecting, because if you are a leader, you've got to be in touch with the reality.